All right, we're gonna go ahead. So everybody, thank you for coming in. My name is Chris Milton. I'm a parent inside of the Buchanan area. I've graduated 2 sons from Buchanan, and I've seen a lot of things go on inside of Clovis Unified School District over the years. For a while, I was like everybody else and just kind of sat back and watched it. But what I realized is that I actually have a voice, and I'm going to utilize my voice that God gave me. And I started interacting and dealing with Clovis Unified School District. Some things that we were able to rectify, some things that we were able to table, but what's happening is consistently is happening over and over again, and that's where the problem is. On my Facebook this morning, when I opened it up, June 9th, 2019, it gave me a memory. It gave me a memory from this day last year. The memory from this day last year showed that I was fighting another racial incident with Clovis Unified School District this day last year. That is ridiculous. This day last year, that right there lets me know that this is absolutely necessary. So this is why I'm here. I put out Sunday that I was going to do this open letter to Clovis Unified School Board. I had the opportunity to get contacted by several people from the school board, from the district itself, and I actually had an opportunity to talk to the superintendent yesterday. We had an extensive conversation. Ending our conversation, I'm going to be honest, I was a little taken back that this afternoon around 3 o'clock, a letter came out from Clovis Unified School District. Timing, let's just say timing. A letter came out from Clovis Unified School District, and I was taken back by that. And I was taken back by some of the wording in it, and I was also just taken back by the content, and most important, the timing. So in digesting it and considering some things, one thing that God told me is that this is necessary, and do not be swayed, that your message needs to be said, that I still need to talk to every single person inside of Clovis Unified that has reached out to me, everybody in Clovis Unified that has reached out to the district but got no response. I still need to speak to them. So I am still inclined to share my letter with you all tonight. So with that, I'm going to tell you right now, God was on my back wrestling. He was wrestling with me. The angel was wrestling with me like the angel wrestled with Jacob and said, you're going to take this blessing, you're going to take this blessing. And God told me that I'm going to take this blessing and say these words. So with that, I need you to ride with me for about 15 minutes. I don't trust my employers. I've lost faith in our district. I'm tired of representing a district that does not share my values. I don't want them to do these kids like they did to me. My heart hurts knowing that our African American and other brown kids may be in danger. The school board needs to be overturned and revamped. Those are not my words, but rather words of the employees, both new and tenured teachers and administrators that have reached out to me from the Clovis Unified School District. They are words from employees that fit no singular age group, racial, or cultural category. They were tearfully expressing those words while describing a district that seems to pride itself with portraying a stellar image to the eyes outside of the district rather than providing a safe learning environment for all the students within its charge. A district that takes policing students with tattoos as a greater sense of urgency than it does with students that create a hostile learning environment through hate speech, derogatory messaging about classmates, threats of violence against those that think or express emotions different than theirs. A district that historically would much rather listen to the voice of the entitled rather than the cry of the disenfranchised. Clovis Unified District is made up of many different cultures, all depending on you to make an environment of equality that fosters learning, inclusion, objectivity, and safety, mentally, physically, and emotionally. In no other assembly of words that are appropriate, I say you have failed. In the last 4 years alone, this district has been subjected to hateful speech from its students, with some directly at classmates and their peers. The vehicles used have been social media and in person. Over the last 10 years alone, there have been hateful statements communicated to our children with discriminatory undertones that left our children feeling helpless and abandoned. These statements not only come from the student body, but staff alike. In the state of California, employees have a right to not be subjected or work in a hostile work environment, and it is up to the employer to foster that culture. In the same state, children also have the right not to be subjected to having to learn in a hostile learning environment, and it is your sole responsibility to ensure that that culture is implemented, executed, and remains consistent. You have failed. To be fair, I must say that there are several things that you have remained consistent about through the district. Your practice of protecting a certain class of student is very consistent, which is indicative, by the way, that the district handled alleged sexual assault incidents from student to student. Your consistency in addressing low-hanging fruit rather than climbing the tree to address more complicated issues is consistent by the way that you swiftly banned a white teacher from teaching in this district in 2016 for wearing a Black Lives Matter pin to school, but yet showed absolutely no pushback to the wearing of a black t-shirt that was imprinted with a replica of the United States flag written in red. On that same shirt, it was customized with the names of your schools written in blue, representing one of the stripes, and was available for sale throughout the district. While you didn't produce the shirt, the same way you didn't produce the pen, you took a strong stance against the pen and not the shirt, which was a dog whistle to show support for the Blue Lives Matter movement, which was a passive-aggressive counter to the original BLM statement. You provided consistency in demanding more of your students than you do your staff by the example you set when your employees are caught having sex on campus in storage rooms, yet nothing is done to protect the sanctity of the school. You are very consistent. The thing that you have been most consistent about is the unspoken statement that you consistently make that Black lives don't matter. They don't matter in the classroom as it relates to equity. They don't matter on campus as it relates to emotional strength. And they don't matter in your district as it relates to learning in a learning environment that is free from bullying and harassment. These feelings were spoken in an open letter to you by the co-emeritus of the Black Students of California United, who was a graduating senior this year. In the open letter I received last night, it states, I, along with other students of color, have been subjected to racism and its trauma at every turn. From principal to chemistry teachers, to counselors, to school nurses, to yard monitors and other students. In addition, she states that every year there has been attack on people of color. Every year CSD promises to change, just like the letter that was sent out today. They placate us with plans for the future and empty promises, but nothing changes. Continuing with this idea, we understand that Black lives do matter, however, on Friday nights when they are scoring touchdowns or playing for your entertainment. But even then, the support has a shelf life demonstrated by the athletic director, James Gambrell, at Buchanan High School. Mr. Gambrell authorized and approved the posting of a picture of my child above the gymnasium door, but took the liberty to crop and edit his natural hairstyle into a militaristic hairstyle. A hairstyle that was high and tight, flat top, rather than keeping the integrity of the picture and have it display his natural hairstyle. Your athletic director was in direct violation of the Crown Act that protects students, specifically students of color, as it relates to having the ability to wear his or her natural hair in the workplace or classroom. This egregious act are consistent with the bigotry that historically roams the campuses inside of your district. The bigotry that convinces school teachers in your district that it is okay to say the word nigger in class just as long as it is in relation to the lesson. The bigotry that enables students to put down cultures and be confident that the district will do nothing as a consequence unless pushed, and even then it's complicated. This leads me to stories delivered to me by a young kid that I mentor that is in this district who is now one of your employees. He tells me of instances in high school where he was laid out in handcuffs because he defended himself against ongoing racial attacks by his peers. His cry for help went unanswered far too long, and the top of the pressure cooker exploded because he felt desperate and alone. The consequence was more for the result of the problem rather than the problem itself. He tells me of stories in high school in your district when an assistant baseball coach, George Chandler, called him fucking Obama because he is black and referred to a Japanese American teammate as Pearl Harbor. Once reported to the head coach, James Patrick, and the school admin, nothing was done to protect this kid from being in a hostile environment. But in the spirit of consistency, what was done was that you honored the coach, James Patrick, by renaming a baseball field with his name and creating a place for him and Chandler in the Clovis Cougars Baseball Hall of Fame. What you have done is no different than the erection of statues depicting the likeness of Confederate officers in the South that is a constant reminder of the fact that Black lives don't matter every time a black kid or a kid of color gets on the field to play. You have failed. You have a student body that does not take you seriously. A student body that deems it business as usual to graffiti hateful words and messages in bathrooms and around the different campuses in your district. They do this because they know that they will not be held accountable. Students within this district are more nervous to wear cutoff jeans, wear a nose ring, uncover tattoos, and excessive facial hair than they are to spew words such as nigger, wetback, and other vile terms under the same wall of supervision. That is a problem. It is a problem when the culture that you create does in fact have diversity, but it does not have inclusion. That's a problem. It's a problem when school administrators hold a position of authority but don't believe that they have full support or cooperation from leadership to assist them in creating a safe learning environment for all kids. What you hear is frustration, anger, disappointment, and a result of watching a system fail our children. There was a time during 2011, 2014 where Black students issues were not being addressed, and the greatest deal of the harassment and discrimination was coming from your staff. The student felt as if they had no value on your campuses, so they chose to transfer to other schools outside of the district that had a higher minority makeup. As if running Black kids out of the district wasn't enough, when Clovis schools would play those minority populated schools, the coaches on your campuses would warn kids, our well-behaved Clovis kids, that they are going to the ghetto and that the athletes are going to be undisciplined, rude, and ghetto. They say that racism starts at home, but in this case, that very racism has been fueled on your charge. What happens that make this even more upsetting is that those kids that they were talking about were the very kids that they had coached prior to their transfer. This is what happens when you do not employ Black head coaches in your district or employ very few minorities in leadership positions. Hell, not even leadership positions, but positions other than driving a golf cart around patrolling the plantation. In addition to the token hiring of Blacks to patrol a plantation, you also take away money that is earmarked to go to your low-income foster youth and English learner students, which is incidentally your brown kids, and in turn use that money to vamp up your police force. This is supported and defended by a statement in 2018 by your district spokesperson, Kelly Avance, when she justified the spending of money on your police force rather than the students themselves by saying, and I quote, "This is the most effective means of decreasing student discipline." The police, let's go back. This is the most effective means of decreasing student discipline, decreasing truancy, enhancing school safety, and providing a positive school culture. So Kelly, because I know you're listening, because you so eloquently put out that message today, in your strategic analysis, after you did your SWOT analysis to put together a strategic plan, so you determined that the only way to achieve these objectives is to have a militaristic police force patrolling the campuses? Heaven forbid we invest that money on programs for our kids. Heaven forbid we provide sensitivity training for our kids. Heaven forbid we hire counselors or psychologists for our kids. Heaven forbid we invest that money to help the children build their personal equity through curriculum rather than prepare them for the criminal justice system, since you have already identified potential clients of that system in the 3rd grade by evaluating their test scores. Today we are demanding a change. We are demanding that you huddle up and rewrite your playbook. The plays that you are running do not include your whole team. The plays that you are running segregates and divides your team and is only advantageous to those that can afford all the proper equipment. Today, as a community, we demand change. We demand change in the form of action, not from another half-baked statement being sent out from your district, but rather by the actions of every member of the community that every member of the community expected when they voted you into office. The words "you have failed" should echo in your safe place as a reminder that you have not held up to your end of the deal. You have not created a safe learning environment. You have not created an environment that is consistently welcome to all, but rather a divisive environment that is fueled through hypocrisy, nepotism, and hierarchy. Today we require that each of you stand up and say the words out loud that you do not and will not tolerate hate and racism in this district any longer. That you will uphold and uphold your responsibility to be fair, diligent, and direct in your quest for peace and continuity. Also, that you will uplift the responsibility of the seat that you have been afforded to you by the voters in this district. While we are talking about voters, we, the community, are officially giving you a call to action right now. According to AB 182, California Voting Right Act CVRA of 2001, it prohibits the use of an at-large election in a political subdivision if it would impair the ability of a protected class, as defined, to elect candidates of its choice or otherwise influence the outcome of the election. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm going to break it down for you. In layman's terms, you are holding illegal elections because this district holds at-large elections and it is illegal per the State of California Voting Act. Because it creates an effortless pathway for you to get elected into office with little to no obstacles, especially with the protected class being minorities. Because of this illegal activity, there has not been an adequate minority representation on the school board, which in essence assures us that change is never going to be looked at as a sense of urgency, because the voice has been silenced. The CVRA goes on to say that they provide the voter who is a member, and this is for you guys that are listening, listen. The CVRA provides that the voter who is a member of a protected class may bring an action in superior court to enforce the provisions of the CVRA, and if the voter prevails in the case, he or she may be awarded reasonable litigation costs and attorney fees. The CVRA requires a court to implement appropriate remedies. Let me say it again. The CVRA requires a court to implement appropriate remedies, including the imposition of district-based elections that are tailored to remedy a violation of the act. We will give you a reasonable time of 45 days. We will give you a reasonable time of 45 days to rectify this, or we will deliver you our formal complaint. To rectify this, you will need to go to the Fresno County Office of Elections and re-register from having an at-large election to having a district election, so that only you are receiving the specific votes from the specific areas that you are serving. This will open the door for minorities and other protected classes to truly win over and serve their communities. This is non-negotiable. Next, we expect a formal response, not what went out today. No, we're not taking half-baked statements that are painted with a broad stroke. 7 days from calendar days from now, we expect the community expects a direct statement expressing zero tolerance. Say the words, zero tolerance for said behavior, whether committed by staff or student body. If this is not done, the community is prepared to escalate our displeasure for your unfair practices. We expect policy change, conversations that communicates the sense of urgency for change to be addressed. A plan for district-wide funding for sensitivity training and hate deterrence for students and staff alike, and also a comprehensive plan on how teachers and administrators will be held accountable for their breach of this responsibility. These things, at this point, are non-negotiable. I have had an opportunity to speak to Dr. O'Farrell yesterday, and have had an opportunity for her to tell me that these things have been put in motion. And I know Dr. O'Farrell is on here, and I know other members are on here from the school district. At this point, the community is watching. The community, right now inside of the Black community, you see t-shirts that say, "I can't breathe." You see t-shirts that I can't breathe. Community, tonight, I'm telling you right now to take a deep ass breath, because as of right now, you can breathe again. We have leaders in place to act as allies to assist with these changes. However, that help is only as effective as your proactive efforts. Signed, Chris Milton, care of your community.